Hello, everyone. Today I'm joined by Mr. Pierre Laguerre, the founder of Fleeting. How are you doing today, Pierre?
I'm doing great, Tony. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. So, Pierre, for those who aren't familiar, can you tell us what Fleeting is?
Yes, thank you. Fleeting is a mobile platform that we built. And, when you're in technology, you got to be something of something. So we call ourselves the Airbnb of trucking, where we leverage technology to pair CDL truck drivers with underutilized trucks. So give them greater control of their schedule and greater control of their earnings. But at the same time, create a new asset class, allowing minorities or anyone, any walks of life to own a fleet of trucks without actually managing those trucks themselves, and each investor is receiving on average between $4,000 to $5,000 net per month per trucks. So we believe this is one way that we can solve the driver shortage problem. Two, this is another way we can bridge the gap for formerly incarcerated individuals and give them employment opportunities. So that's pretty much what fleeting is.
Okay. And speaking of the driver shortage problem, that actually leads me to my next question. What are your thoughts on the current state of the trucking industry?
I mean, the current state right now of the trucking industry, I would say that it's both. It's both chaotic and also opportunistic as well, right? And I always say this: wherever there's chaos, there's an opportunity to cash in big time. You just have to pay attention to the noise. So right now, I would say that the trucking industry is really struggling. There's a shortage of about 1 million truck drivers, and the reason for that is, look, the answer is simple. We live in an age where people can actually just, do gig economy work. They can drive Uber, they can drive Lyft, and be home to their families every night and eat a home cooked meal. When you're a truck driver, you're spending days away from your family. As a matter of fact, on average, drivers are spending 250 nights away from their family. And 7 out of 10 drivers are dying from diabetes. So no wonder why we have a driver shortage. Who in their right mind want to be a truck driver, right? When they could drive Lyft or drive Uber and stay closer to home. So for us, we understand those problems that exist in the space. This is exactly, again, why fleeting exists. Our platform, by leveraging technology, we give the driver the ability to control his schedule, to control his time and more home time with his family. And I think we can't talk about the trucking industry without talking about solving the issues that are plaguing the industry. And until we solve those issues, the next generation Z is not going to see trucking as an opportunity. So for us, we believe the best way to actually make trucking more appealing for Gen Z is to actually remove some of the stigma that's in there, allow drivers to have a little bit more flexibility and allow them to earn a little bit more. But I would say, yes, trucking is a bit chaotic right now, but wherever there's chaos, there's always an opportunity to cash in. It's an $800 billion industry heading towards a $1.2 trillion industry. So a lot of money here to be made.
Okay. And speaking of those opportunities, can you explain like what are some of the benefits of getting into the industry right now?
Oh man, there's a lot of good benefits of getting in the industry. And that's another thing. There's this big stigma. People believe that in order for them to get in transportation industry, they have to be a truck driver. So that's one of the biggest myths, right? But there's so many different other verticals in trucking that you can get into and make great money, build a great business, right? For example, you could be a dispatcher. A dispatcher is a person that actually helped the driver find good paying loads, right? Those jobs, you could do them at home. You could really build a dispatching business, whether you want to build a 5-figure business, a 6-figure business, or even a 7-figure business, because there's hundreds of thousands of drivers out there struggling every day trying to find loads. And then you have freight brokers. Freight broker is a party that actually help, whether it's a manufacturer or a shipper, find a trucking company to move that good for them. Again, brokers work from home. You can build a multi-million-dollar brokerage firm from home. There's also compliance opportunity. Truck drivers or trucking companies are always struggling with compliance. Again, those are businesses that any individual can get into this $800 billion industry without getting a CDL and still build those businesses. However, I'm still a big advocate for, especially young male from marginalized communities to get a CDL, because that's the best way you can really learn all the different parts of trucking. And I think that's what I did. I started as a CDL driver and, built multiple businesses to where I am now. So I think, again, owning this, getting a CDL is definitely a great important factor. But again, for trucking is not for everybody. So all for the people that want to get into trucking, but don't have the desire to be on the road or driving a truck, there's also so many opportunities for them to make money in this space.
And speaking of building businesses, you have been able to raise, or you raised $1 million in 12 months.
Yep.
What do you feel makes your business attractive to investors?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and we raised that 12 million, but today we raised almost about 3 million, and also became the first Black man that raised over $1 million on a crowdfunding platform as well. But the reason why investors see the opportunity in our business is multiple reasons. Number one we're talking about a big market here. We're talking about an $800 billion market heading towards a $1.2 trillion market that is so outdated, still stuck in the 20th century. So that is one of the market left to be disrupted by technology. So investors see a lot of values in that. Number two is the fact that I was a driver myself. I was an owner operator on my own truck, built a staffing agency to 2.5 million in revenue, then built a trucking company to 1.7 million in revenue, to now building fleet. And I think investors see that, okay, well, Pierre has the qualities, he has the understanding. Not only that, he has the empathy to understand exactly what he's solving, because he can relate directly to the people he's looking to serve, which are the drivers. But most importantly, though, I think is the big return, right? Investors don't invest because it sounds good. Investors don't invest because they like your forehead. Investors invest because they know there's an opportunity they could get a 10x, 50x on their investment. And I think it's proven that Fleeting can become a multi-billion-dollar company with the right execution, with the right team, and definitely with the right funding. But I think this is the reason why investors invest in that business, because we're not just only building a business for profit here, right? There's also the social impact of our business. And a lot of time, a lot of corporations want to have that social impact, but they just don't know how to go about it. So for me to be a minority founder and start my business on the back of social impact alone, and I think that resonates to a lot of investors that want to actually give back. And that could be a good, perfect way for them to actually give back.
Hmm. Now, you mentioned the businesses that you started and grew before Fleeting, and you took those to million-dollar and multi-million-dollar businesses. What would you say are the keys, or were the keys to the success that you had with those businesses, and even with the success you're having with Fleeting now?
So yeah, so the keys for sure, I think, is grit and determination, right? Nothing worth having is gonna come easy. Like I said, trucking is an $800 billion industry, but it's a very, very outdated industry. Everything is just kind of, it's a very inefficient system. So for me, I think my success really came from, one, understanding truly what is the problem that exists, because I was a driver and I lived those problems every day. And number two, what are the solutions that we can create around those problems? Once I started thinking, and when I said thinking, it wasn't me assuming that I know what the solutions to the problems are. I actually made it my business to go speak to trucking companies and speak to drivers and say, hey, look, we understand there's a big issue here. What solution would you like to see that would make you feel a little bit more appreciated, that would make you feel like, your business is growing in the right way? So by me taking that approach and speaking with customers and speaking to drivers, it has allowed me to pinpoint exactly where the problem is at. And it has allowed me to come up with a solution. And of course, if you're in the service world, everybody's suffering with a problem. And if you have the solution, you're definitely going to get paid for it. So I think that's exactly how I was able to build those two businesses. I didn't build them just on the merit of, I want to build a business and make money. My idea was, okay, well, I know there's a lot of problem in this industry. How can I solve it? So by solving those problems, I was able to build some multi-million-dollar businesses.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And you're clearly passionate about spreading information about how others can get into the trucking industry as well. And you recently created a course to help spread that information. Can you tell us a little bit more about the course that you created?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if you remember from my story in 2018 from my attempt carjacking robbery, and I had my skull cracked open. I was in a hospital, didn't know if I was going to make it or not. And when I was in a hospital, if I said that I didn't feel the need to retaliate, right, I'll be lying. I wanted revenge. I wanted blood. But also through that same pain, I had a moment to reflect and think, okay, well, if I go out there and retaliate, what am I going to solve? Number one, I'm going to hurt another Black man that look like me. Number two, I run the risk of getting killed or spending the rest of my life in jail. And number three, my children would not grow up without a father in their life. And I said, you know what? This is exactly what happens a lot of times in our communities. Like, hey, you kill my dog, I'm gonna kill your cat. It's like a tit for tat. And I felt compelled to be mature enough to say, hey, you know what? This vicious cycle is gonna stop with me in my community. And that day, as much as in pain I was in a hospital, I made a promise with God. I said, God, if you let me at this hospital alive, not only will I build a tech company to solve the supply chain logistic issues, but I will also create an ecosystem, create an academy where I could teach young men and young women how to become entrepreneurs in trucking, whether they want to become a truck driver or dispatcher or a freight broker. Because what I realized was, how can trucking, it's short a million truck drivers, how can trucking have all those opportunities available to it? But meanwhile, we have young men and young women in certain communities that have never been exposed to those opportunities. So this is exactly why Pierre's Academy exists today, because trucking took me from a marginalized community and allowed me to build multi-million-dollar businesses. And I truly believe it can do so for millions of others. So for me, this is where my passion came from. I want to create Pierre's Academy, which is an ecosystem where I teach young men and young women from any walks of life, any color, but mostly around, marginalized communities, how they can start their own dispatching business from home, whether they want to make $3,000 a month or they want to make $20,000 a month. It's up to them. And I want to create the tools and give them everything that they need, the knowledge, in order to be successful. Pretty much giving them my blueprint of 20 years of experience in trucking.
Mm. And can you go over some of the information that what would someone learn from purchasing that course? What are some of the topics that they would learn from doing so?
Yes, so there's going to be a lot of learning in that course. And I think, as a matter of fact, there's one day alone in that course where I call it foundation, right? It's not talking about nothing about trucking. It's just talking about the mindset. It's just talking about the attitude. How do you need to change your perception once you become an entrepreneur? How do you actually approach problem? How do you deal with conflict resolution? Pretty much how you demonstrate empathy. Like, how you understand fear? How do you deal with faith? So pretty much that one day, you kind of I take them to a step where I actually get them to understand the power of transformation. They start transforming themselves, to start seeing themselves as something bigger than they are. But most importantly, what they will learn is, one, how to start a dispatching company. They will learn exactly how to sell their businesses to truck drivers that need the service. They'll learn exactly how to build relationship with freight brokers. They'll learn exactly how to negotiate, which is one of the major part of being a dispatcher, is to be a great negotiator. And they get to learn how to become a negotiator. But most importantly, in order to be a dispatcher also, you have to have the ability to understand market fluctuation and how the market operates in transportation, and they will get all of that. So yes, they'll understand market fluctuation, they'll understand the power of negotiating, they'll understand the power of building relationship with freight brokers, and power of building relationship with truck drivers, and actually also the ability to scale their businesses as well. And also on that, I will also provide monthly coaching as well to kind of walk them through and kind of, being able to be part of our community, to ask questions and kind of really help them become successful in their own endeavors.
Mm. I think that something else you should add is how to raise $1 million also.
Definitely, that's definitely one course itself that I'm gonna do, because what I realize is that there's a lot of founders out there that have great ideas, right? But again, a lot of them don't know that this ecosystem of raising venture capital exists. Just like me, 4 years ago, Tony, I didn't know that I can go and raise capital from an investor with an idea, right? So could you just imagine how many young men walk into those communities doesn't know that this ecosystem exists? So I always tell people that, hey, look, I am not the example, right? I'm just pretty much, I'm sorry, this is not to say that I'm not the example. I'm not the exception. I am the example of what happened when you have people that believe in you, that want to support you. It changed the entire trajectory. So I think for me, this is why Pierre's Academy exists. I want to go back to those communities and show those young men and young women that there's somebody that actually believe in them. There's somebody that actually want to create a path and give them the tools and the knowledge in order to be successful. And again, it's not that course. I think the first day is not just trucking. I think it's the personal development side. And I think a lot of us will find that very useful. So even if you're not in trucking, if you're looking for some personal development, you should definitely take that course as well.
So to help you on the personal side and the business side also.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So when does the course launch? When is it going to be available? And how can people find out more information about how to get involved?
Yes, the course is going to be live actually this Friday, September 23rd. And the reason why September 23rd, again, this is a very, very important moment for me, because September 23rd marked my 25th year anniversary since I've been living in America as a Haitian from Haiti. And for me, I see this is a way of myself saying, you know what, America has afforded me the opportunity, although I went through a lot of struggles, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but this country has afforded me the opportunity to be where I am today. And in my 25th year anniversary, I felt like, you know what, this is one way I can actually give back to America. Like they said, ask not what your country can do for you, is what you can do for your country. So no, this is right here. We're not asking what America can do for me. I think I have valuable skills. I think I have the talent. I have the passion, and I have the expertise. So I want to actually give that as a gift to our communities. Because here's a kicker, when I say giving it back to America, what I mean by that, if I help 20,000 individuals build successful businesses in transportation, 9 out of 10, they're going to make between $150K a year to $250,000 a year. And this is just doing the bare minimum. Yeah. And on average, they'll be paying about what? 30% in taxes in their businesses to IRS. We're talking about each individual will be paying on average $60K per year to IRS. That's $1.2 billion I will be giving back to the U.S. economy. So for me, again, this is not a charity case. This is an opportunity to show that, hey, look, those young Black men or those young women or anyone has the ability to build those has the ability to build big businesses. Unfortunately, they just don't have an ecosystem that believe in them, that supports them, that nurture them, and give them the tools that they need. And Pierre's Academy is here to do exactly that.
Well said. So for those who want to find out more information, where can they reach you and where can they follow you and learn more about your business and the course that you're launching?
Yes, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram, which is Pierre_Laguerre 5. And the link for the course is going to be there as well. And we also have Pierre's Academy page as well. They can follow on the Pierre's Academy page. Is linked to my personal page. Same thing all across social media. You could just type Pierre Laguerre. You'll see me, and all the link will be on there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, Pierre. Was there anything else?
Yes, so there's one more thing there's one more point that I want to make when we talk about dispatching, right? I believe this course, every truck driver in America needs to take this course because especially if a driver decided to say, I'm going to become an owner operator, they're going to need to learn how to become a great negotiator to find a good paying freight. But most importantly, if there's any spouses out there, right? If your husband is a trucker and the wife is at home, or the wife is a trucker, there's a lot of women becoming drivers now. So if the woman is a trucker and the husband is at home, well, maybe the husband can create a dispatching business and start dispatching his wife, right? Vice versa. The women can be at home and start dispatching their husband. So again, there's a lot of opportunities here to tap into this market without actually just being drivers and still build six-figure businesses at home. So I just wanted to make sure I stress that point out.
No, that's a great point. And something else that I just thought of was with the increased activity in e-commerce, there's going to be a need for trucking, for people going to need to ship all these products that we need next day, 1 hour delivery to 5-minute delivery to all these distribution centers. So yeah, the need for trucking.
What a great point. Yeah, you brought a great point with that, Tony, because the e-commerce is growing, I believe, on 30% year over year. I mean, that's some real growth, right? And again, this challenge is still here. Shippers, manufacturers are scrambling to find last mile companies to move their goods, right? Again, Pierre's Academy can show you exactly how do you start a last mile company? How do you start a box truck company? So again, Pierre's Academy is going to show you everything that they need. But the first course that will be live this Friday is how to become a dispatcher. It's called The Art of Dispatching. Show you exactly how to start it, because that's one easiest business they can start in the industry because it requires it's low barrier to entry. To start a trucking company, you need hundreds of thousands of dollars, thousands of dollars to start a trucking company. To start a brokerage company, you're going to need a few $1,000s, right? But to start a dispatching company, you can start a dispatching company with $2,500. All you need is a laptop, a phone, right? And some Wi-Fi. And you're pretty much in business. So I think, again, the barrier to entry is very low here. And again, the opportunity to make money is very high. So I think this is why we start with the dispatching course. Low barrier to entry, doesn't require a lot of capital to start. They don't have to worry about equipment. They don't have to worry about credit. They don't have to worry about loan. All they need is a winning attitude, a willingness to provide value into the space, and be a fighter and have grit. And again, they could build multi-million-dollar businesses right in the comfort of their living room, or if they're at the poolside by their family.
Well said. Well said. All right, Pierre. Well, thanks again for all the great information. Looking forward to the course coming out soon. And you have a great rest of the day, sir.
Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate it. And I definitely look forward to stay more in touch. I love what you're doing. Anyhow I can support, please let me know.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.